right. Once again, we gather. we gather in the church of self improvement, learning, learning for yourself, learning with you being your own boss, your own teacher. I was going to say the autodidactic temple, but that's not creative enough. I have to find something better. I have to find something more creative than that. That's not good enough. A little coffee. I have some more to get me going tonight. By the end of this is the end of my workday, so I've been up since 6 today. So I get a little tired in the evening, and it can't be tired for you. God knows that something's gonna wake me up. Um, make some noise if you're there. Just let me know. So yeah, we do have some people here. We have Brilliant Zero. Cool. Some of our regulars. Um, and it is a great day today. Sweet Beaver's Club sounds fun. The Club of the Sweet Beaver. Is there like a mascot like being formed here? I think there might be a sugar-coated mammal. In case anybody's wondering, and don't get too offended, last night's, if you don't know what that means, you have to watch this. See, it's inside jokes already. Day 6, Docker decided to troll me by giving me a random container name, sweet_beaver, to which we had to attach and do all kinds of stuff. So I was beat red. It was very embarrassing. I'm not above a good, base joke, but that was beyond my threshold. I'm kind of embarrassed. Anyway, today's the day to learn the shell. We're going to need every second today to learn the shell. In fact, today's one of those days where I almost don't think we can break it down into individual videos. It's going to be very hard. So let's jump right in. I will be taking breaks because I'm going to be talking pretty fast. Thankfully, you can slow it down if you need to. If you're on YouTube or something like that, you can go back and slow it down. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. So back to the boost. In case you haven't noticed today, I've been doing a lot of live edits on the boost file. As I said from the beginning, this is very organic. I'm adapting it as I go. It's my style. It's what I've always done. It drives traditional educators insane. I had parents when I used to teach at SkillStack, when I had run SkillStack. I would have certified academic, college professors and people who had parents of kids, and they would see my style for generating the material each day, and I would adapt the lesson literally in the middle of it. It made them insane. Seriously, they were crazy. They're like, wait, you can't do that. And because you're talking about people who have had all the material locked down, 6 months in advance to get their accreditation as a college. I tried to get accredited at one point, and I was like, you mean you have to have solidified curriculum like a year in advance or something like that they have to approve and audit and everything? I was like, there's no way this can ever keep up with the pace of technology today. And in fact, I barely can keep up with the pace of technology, as adaptable as this is. So yeah, we are not on day 5. Where are we? So this is all the stuff we did yesterday. No more review there. You should be caught up. But I did flesh out some of the writing for the last couple of days and clean them up. Hi, how's it going? And so here we go. Start using the Linux terminal command line. So I'm gonna put a marker, and I'm gonna jump right in. And we're going to do several videos back to back really quick. And I'm going to try to get better at making these fast, so we can do this quickly. All right, so this time we're going to do this one. All right, so you guys ready for our first video? This one will go fast. I just have to introduce the book. Okay. All right, so the first video today, and we're getting into the Linux command line, is the Linux command line by William Schatz. This is a book you can find online pretty easily. I don't even want to waste time with you going to find it. I'm just telling you, go find it, go use it, and love it. I will save you some money by having you look for it. Linux command. I already showed this the other day. I actually have two copies. I have a Kindle copy, a hard copy, and I have the PDF. But you can go get the PDF here. Here's the link. Actually, I'll give that link to you. So there you go. There's your link. And you can go get it. I actually have it on the system here, so I can show you this. Oops, my stuff's not working. My PDFs are not working. Oh no. I have a PDF directory in it. Apparently it's not working at the moment. Learning the Linux command line. Where is it? Oh, it's the Linux command line. The Linux command line, second edition. Here it is all zoomed in black and white. William Schatz. Now, at one point, we actually went through this book together. We're not going to do that this time, this boost. So it's just too much stuff. So this is 100% free material. This little video I'm doing right now is just to tell you about it, to tell you where you can get it, to tell you can get it for free, save yourself $40. I think it's worth getting for free at this point because it's so out of date. It's the only, when I did the review of this book a couple years ago, it's the only book that covers associative arrays in Bash. Now, I've since changed my opinion, and I think you should learn POSIX shell and not Bash. So let me just warn you right now about some of the gotchas in this book. So, and I'll tell you about this in the topical guide here. So what is the shell? This is very, very fun stuff. We're going to do our own version of that, but this is very fun stuff to read. It gives you a really great background in. I love this explanation of why it doesn't call it GNU Linux. It's very nice. It's worth reading. It's worth reading the introduction. I really encourage you to do it. William Schatz has an amazing writing style. I really like him as an author. But as you get going, 2013, yeah. And that's an old one. You don't want that one. That's the first one, actually. So, by the way, the stuff on Amazon has different dates than the one. This stuff actually came from a website, I believe, called Linux Command or Linux, something like that. You can go find it. I've never actually went to the website. A lot of these websites have gone out of date, and I'll just, spoiler alert, we're going to be using the POSIX tutorial for most everything that we do, and the man page. The POSIX tutorial and a program called shell check when it comes time to shell script. But that's not till the end. So these first chapters, the end of the book, what is the shell? Terminal emulators. Remember we talked about that? You're making your first keystrokes, blah, blah, blah. You might find something in there that we didn't cover or that you haven't uncovered other places, but it's pretty good at covering that stuff. Exploring the file system is a thing. We're going to do all of this today, most of this today. It's funny because it's got a lot of the same commands that I came up with. I'm just doing them in a different order. Oh, look, he did Mike directory first too. He left touch out though, which I find interesting. So summing up, so we're going to cover all those commands, but if you want another take on them, type. I forgot to cover type. Yeah, I need to put type and which in mind for sure. I forgot about that. Don't let me forget. So I don't use help. Help is you can read. This is good though because this would be another take on what to do. Redirection. Or indirection, whatever you want to call it. We're going to cover that today. So I actually might use this. It's got a few things that I'm missing from my unique. I forgot about WC. I forgot about. So anyway, ours will be essentially the same, but I want to give you my take on it as well as his, and you can read both. Quoting is important. Advanced keyboard tricks. Yanking. No. Programmable completion, yes, but you don't want this one right now. But go ahead and read them. SU student, that's all going in administration day, which is tomorrow. So today is getting on the shell. Tomorrow is basic system administration, which includes this permission stuff. We're going to do the processes stuff probably today as well. We already did that. The environment, maybe we'll talk about that. This does talk about VI. I I like some of it is backing about VI, but I am very specifically going to teach you my way of VI, which has been taught to me, handed down through the ages, the way it should be taught, specifically with integration into the shell, which is nobody teaches VI that way. You shouldn't be learning VI unless you know the shell, and we'll get to that. So just to review the book, Customizing the Prompt. This is kind of fun and old. It's really, really old. But we're not going to do any customization of the shell until after we learn shell scripting. So we're going to learn basic shell scripting, and then we're going to come back and we're going to go start customizing the crap out of your shell, because you need to know how to program in shell in order to customize your shell. So not too hard. Nobody needs to panic. We're not going to do the deep stuff for now, just the easy stuff. And then part 3, common tasks and essential tools. I don't think some of these tools are nearly essential right now. They don't cover Docker at all. This is all pre-cloud native stuff. It talks about mounting and unmounting file systems, which is, no, we just don't do that anymore. I mean, we do, but it's in a totally different way that's irrelevant to a beginner. So maybe your USB drive, maybe. So we might talk about that. So what else we got? We have burning CD-ROM images. Yeah, no. Networking. We will cover networking all by itself. We're going to do all the commands for networking at that time. The only one we're going to cover in advance of that is SSH, because you need it for GitHub and Git, which is going to come up. So this is all in the Boost outline if you want to see when it's going to come up. What else we got here? So searching for files, find and locate and all of that. We'll do that. Regular expressions. Now, he covers regular expressions in here pretty heavily. I haven't decided when we're going to cover regular expressions. It's kind of a natural place to cover it when we talk about searching and globbing, but regular expressions are a big advanced topic. I don't want to scare anybody away from them, but I would rather not cover regular expressions until we start coding, and we'll stick with globs for right now, and we'll come back to regular expressions when we start doing some of our coding. We may or may not do that. But the reason I'm doing that for you is because there are so many different flavors of regular expression. And that's actually one of the reasons Perl was made, is because there's just so many different ways to do it. grep has a different one, sed has a different one, awk has a different one, vi has a different one. They're all different. And every programming language has standardized on Perl regular expressions, but that's a big conversation, none of which is covered in his book, by the way. He just says, hey, here's regular expressions, and it doesn't really give you the danger of that. So skip that. Don't worry about that for now. Text processing, cat sort unique. This is really important. I didn't call my section text processing, but we'll eventually get to that. And so that's worth reading. Again, this is pretty dated. Diff and patch and tr and sed and all that. Yes, we need that. I mean, it's good because it does cover a bunch of these commands, but I'm going to make sure they're in our Boost as well, just in a different order. Text formatting, front FPR, yeah. Now, you can actually, I'm not going to cover how to print to a printer at all. It's actually really fun to do with straight up command line stuff with Linux, but nobody does it. I mean, unless you have a very edge case where you're like setting up automated printing, to the printer, you're probably just using, whatever graphic tool you have to do printing. And you don't have to do that. I mean, you can actually, but that's an advanced topic. It's an edge case. We're not going to cover it. So again, the purpose of Beginner Boost is for you to know what's out there, what to learn and what you don't need to learn so much. Oh my gosh, LPR. I cannot tell you how many times I've used LPR. Back in the 90s, we used LPR for everything. That was how we would print with our terminal. I mean, it might be worth doing. Who knows? Maybe I'll try it out just for fun again. I haven't done printing from my Linux machine from the command line in at least 10 years. But you can do it. In fact, you can print out, we're going to show you the manual pages for Unix/Linux. Whoops. And those manual pages are very exhaustive. You can actually print the entire manual for Bash or for whatever you want and print it out and spiral bind it. In fact, the graybeards, this is a term somebody else told me about I didn't know about, but the graybeards who taught me, they had every single man page printed on a shelf. You could pull the man page down and flip through it. This was pre-internet. I don't know, that's a while ago. But I mean, that was the definitive source on that. We're going to talk about that as we go. But so printing, compiling programs, we're not going to talk about compiling at all until we go to C. And the reason the second language we're going to learn after shell is C is for this purpose. And so you can understand the low level of your computer and how it's working. People think I'm absolutely crazy for starting with shell programming and starting with C before any number of the other popular programs right now, but I don't care. I still think that's the best way to get going. You're already writing shell every single time you enter a command on the command line. You are writing an interactive program. Might as well learn the rest of it. And after that, the best thing to do to learn to understand your computer is C. And we're going to learn C to understand the computer. And then we'll layer on either Python or Go after that. I don't know which one's first. It really doesn't matter. At that point, you can learn any language and add them in. So that's where we're going. Writing shell scripts. So this entire section on writing shell scripts can be skipped. And the reason it can be skipped, and I strongly suggest you skip it, to be completely honest, this section caused me to stop the boosts last year. I was really counting on using this section, and I got into it. And then I saw the quality of the shell scripts and how old they were. I mean, they're using shell scripts for CGI backend server processing for web pages. This is something that nobody ever took serious. Back in the day, it was C or shell. If you wanted to go to a web page that had a form to fill out, the back end of it was in C or shell. And then Perl took over. That's where Perl got famous. It was the number one language for doing that kind of thing. And then Python came over, started doing it, PHP and everything. And that was the evolution of the back end languages. The reason I mention all that is because this entire section is written as if it was designed to teach somebody shell scripting in 1997. It's in some sense it's great, but the problem with that is that the examples are kind of lame. And I mean, they actually have you generate a web page using echo commands, which just prints one line at a time. It's just so bad. It's really bad. It's really dated. It's not bad. It's just super dated. It's also entirely in Bash. And I overwhelmingly believe, I've talked about this change of heart I've had over the last year. Most of my life, I've been a dedicated POSIX shell scripter only. In fact, at IBM, I was required to only code in POSIX shell because you didn't want it to be incompatible with any other POSIX Unix system. And Linux has Bash as a default shell. But Bash's days, I mean, I like Bash, but I think its days might be numbered because it's GPL v3. And so we're starting to see more POSIX. Certainly the containers, all the containers that we're using these days, BusyBox and Alpine, are all POSIX shell. And those are the primary ones. So, and Docker files are almost entirely written in POSIX shell. So for all of those reasons, hey, thanks for the raid. So for all of those reasons, it is super important that we skip the shell scripting section here. Now, if you want to come back and revisit the shell scripting section after you've learned POSIX, this is a thing with me. I like learning the simple layer first and then layering on the one on top of it. So for example, when we learn how to edit with VI, we're going to learn VI first with no configuration, none. Just straight up VI as it exists on NVI, on BSD, on any system that doesn't have any ability to configure it. And we're going to learn VI that way. And then we'll layer on Vim on top of that. And then if you want to layer on NeoVim or Emacs or whatever you want to on top of that, that's fine. But I believe it's wrong to start with the higher layers and go back, because then you can't distinguish what thing was this newfangled extension and what thing is core. And that goes for shell scripting as well. So we are going to learn core POSIX shell scripting for that purpose. That's why we're going to do it. Thanks for the join. So that's what we're going to do first. Okay. Now next script. So we'll go through the file a little bit more here. So we have starting a project. We have top-down design. Some of these approaches are relevant. So let's just TLDR this. Read the first parts of the book, as I mentioned. Skip the shell scripting for now. You can come back and read the shell scripting after you've learned POSIX shell scripting, and then you can say, oh, I didn't know Bash did that. And if you want to, you can layer all of Bash on top of that, and you can learn that as well. Bash is a very powerful language. It's very bloated, but it's still out there, and it is the interactive shell that you should use, and we're going to talk about that next. That's going to be in the next video right after this. So flow control, if statements, reading keyboard input, troubleshooting, all these things. So there you go. Positional parameters. This is all about scripting. So we're going to skip all of that. I've been really struggling because Bash has arrays and POSIX does not have arrays. That's a grouping of things, like one or more things in a group, and you don't have those. POSIX shell does not have those. And it'll be good for us. Exotica subshells. Okay, fine. So that's pretty much it for that book. That has been a really fast demonstration of my the 15-minute review of the Linux Command Line 5th edition, which is free, from William Schatz. The summary of my advice here is to don't skip the introduction in particular. Read the introduction, read the first few parts and paragraphs, as I've talked about through the video. Completely skip the shell section at the end for now, and you can come back to it later. All right. So if you want something tangible to grab onto, I've always told you the purposes of the boost is to show you, what to learn and where to learn it, where you might consider learning it. Not necessarily every detail about how to learn it. I mean about what the content is. I'm only going to cover content that I feel is not substantially covered elsewhere on the internet. And today that's going to be some shell scripting stuff just for fun. All right. So that's the end of that video. Let me read a few comments here. We got any fun yeah. The things the right way. Yes. Excited to mark up and print out the TOC using AVOD. Oh yes, that might be fun for you to do that. That would be cool. Yeah, if you want to do that. You learn Bash first. Most people learn Bash first, yes. But most people aren't learning anything, so be happy. Thanks for the raid. Look at all that raiding happening. Thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna end that video right there. Boop. Okay, so we are on a 5-minute break. Anybody have any questions before we do our next studio audience video? In case you're wondering what the topic is, if you want to read the topics, I'm going to do a 5-minute here. And so here's where we're at. So if you go to github.com/rbxrob/boost, yep. How's it going, Leonardo? Thank you, El Duderino. And by the way, thanks for the sub, dude, today. Once again, I didn't get a chance to tell you that. Appreciate that. All right, so we got to explain that to the raiders. By the way, the number of viewers right now, I kid you not, look at the number of viewers right now. Now Twitch is trolling me hard right here. There are exactly 69 viewers right now. I don't know what the deal is, guys, but I feel like the computer somehow just knows. So to the raiders and to the people who don't get the internet. So I already talked about this at the beginning of this video. So yesterday I started a container. Yeah. So when you do a we did Docker containers yesterday. So if you didn't watch the video yesterday, go watch it. But if you don't want to do that, you can just run a container like this, right? We want to run Ubuntu. Boom, I have Ubuntu. There's my Ubuntu. You want to run Kali Linux so we can be hacksers? What was it? It was Kali Linux /Kali-rolling. Oh, we're going to be hacksers now. Oh man, it died. Why did it die? Damn it. Which one is it? I forgot. I put it in the boost. No, I don't know. I lost it already. Anyway, we were running containers, and Docker gives you a random container name, and the random container name it chose to give me for the demonstration on video was sweet_beaver, and so it's now a rolling joke. So yeah, I know. Docker run dash it dash dash rm. There we go. So there's our Kali. Whoa. Now we're a Kali. So here's the really funny thing. This Kali Linux distro doesn't have Nmap. It doesn't have Nmap. It's like, who's, I don't know, man. I got 2 minutes left. I know. Isn't that crazy? I was like, it's like Kali. It's like they made a really fancy prompt so people would think they have Kali. Like, but whatever. What makes it Kali? That's what I want to know. What distinguishes this from everything else out there? I mean, it's like, hey, learn with Leon. Oh my gosh. Learn with Leon's just subbed. What an amazing vote of confidence that is from Learn with Leon. So random container name positivity. No container name shaming. I don't know. Anyway, so we got this thing going on here, and I don't know what to say about that. So how much time I got? 7:31. We got 1 more minute to screw around. This coffee is going to be totally cold by the end of the next video. So, so I don't know. I came for the sips. Be bare boys. I think that's right. But I mean, come on. So why don't they just tell you to just go get Debian or whatever? Actually, Kali is it's a Knoppix. Kali came from Knoppix. Yeah, Knoppix, the first CD distro ever. Yeah, Knoppix. ASMR coffee. I think my break is over. All right, so what's next? The Sound of Morning. Dude, I grew up in the 70s when there were only 3 television stations, and every other advertisement in Saturday morning was for coffee. And I was Mormon. I couldn't drink coffee. I would go to hell. The refreshing smell of hell. Save a place for me, Satan. Here I come. I'm 1 minute over. I'm 1 minute over my time. Afterlife Planet for you. Yeah. I've been reading Conversations with God. It's a great book, by the way. Great book. Written by a boomer. Oh my God. Like the most hippiest of boomers. But it's super interesting. Not a boomer. Okay, boomer. All right, let's do this. Let's do the next topic. That's not it. Where are we here? Tmux in. And we're going to do the readme here. All right, so back to where we are. Oh, I need to add some stuff. I missed some stuff. Oh, right. We need to add. See, I can just do this. I can change the material right now. And then I'll end up with something that it's crowdsourcing the content, sort of like the Orion Project. You guys heard about the Orion Project? There's a number of them. They're collective open learning projects where people kind of decide what the stuff should be in there. So, in my case, though, I'm sort of the BDFL of my own content. Okay, so what are we going to use here? We've got PWE clear. We're going to use, so somebody remind me about file, type, and which. Actually, those should probably go in with the find stuff. So, right? Once you say those go down with the find stuff, where's the find stuff? Yep. I just want to make sure they get there. I'll go through the whole list. This is not just for today. I don't even know if we're gonna be able to get through all this today. It's like such a big list. It keeps getting bigger, and it's 7:30 already. Holy cow! It's a list, Jalopy. I know you've seen lists for like a full year for me, haven't you? Now a dictator for life. Yes. I mean, you probably were watching back when I was doing hacking stuff, haxing. Yeah, I'm all about the cloud native now. But I want to do cloud native so I can power hacks. I am. I'm gonna make myself a big monster cluster and come create some monster name for it, and then automate all the pen testing. That's my goal in life. Um, what? Cloud native? Cloud native is the preferred term, and I actually have a video on that. Yeah, yeah, I do. Vids cloud native. Let's see if that pulls up for you if you want to watch that one. Okay, history and value of command line interfaces. So I'm talking about this a lot, but I'm still going to make a quick video on it. I just am because reasons. So topic. I got to get through these fast. Write all of them reports. I know that's another reason Jalopy I got out of it, because 50% of security careers are writing reports, and I would rather be playing around with containers and stuff. Anyway, so ready to go. Here comes the video. Add a stream marker. History and value of command line interfaces. I must have talked about this a dozen times over the last year. It's pretty much the entire theme of my stream from day to day. And so why does the command line work? And William Schatz actually has a great take on this. I'm just going to give my take on it really quick. Command line interfaces are the fastest human computer interface physically possible currently. Actually, at this point, cue Elon Musk talking to TechCrunch about a neural interface and being able to think and talking about our thumbs being ridiculously slow output interfaces. He talks, whatever you think of Musk, this point's kind of interesting. He talks about this, the interface between the human. If we're ever going to keep up with AI, is his words, then we're going to have to create a better outbound interface. We have very high input bandwidth as humans. Our input bandwidth is super duper high. Our eyes are huge, taking gobs of data. Our ears taking gobs of data. We have so many senses to come in, which is probably why your internet service provider has higher download and very low upload, right? Probably. But when it comes to sending stuff to others, to communicating out to others, we have very crappy interfaces. Speech is the fastest that we have, and even that is really slow between humans, right? And of course, it's it means one thing to one person, another thing to another person. Other outbound, our output, our other output interface is our fingers, and thank God. This is why typing is like the most important skill you can learn besides learning. Learning how to learn and math and stuff, but typing. If you type, well, I'm not, so yeah, if you're a one finger typer, that's fine. I told you about the kid that I was mentoring who typed like this with one hand and like this with the other hand because he was a Minecrafter. No kidding. He learned just the one hand. He was amazing. He was really fast. But if you can improve your output interface, which is typing faster, these conversational UIs, what are they all about? Alexa, Siri, all of them, they're all about making us have a faster output interface by using speech instead of just our fingers, even though our fingers are always going to be more accurate. At one point I thought I was getting really into conversational interface, and I thought, okay, maybe possibly, speech will get good enough that we can start, doing gestures and all this stuff. If you've ever seen any Minority Report or any of these sci-fis where, people are interfacing directly. Truth be known, I mean, as many keyboard errors as I make, my connection to my keyboard is the single fastest way for me to produce reliable input to my computer, period. It's just the fastest way. The mouse is nice and convenient and easy to understand, but it's hella inefficient unless you're using something that has a really highly graphic intensity to it. So, of course, Photoshop and things like that. And, but for most communication, that includes writing code, you're going to need a really, really good, very precise interface that allows, text input as fast as possible. And that's your fingers. That's your fingers attached to your keyboard. And that means that every single technology that allows and promotes that your fingers to be the most efficient possible on your keyboard, and that includes all of your Borg freaking keyboards out there. I am very unproud to admit that I use a Mac keyboard. You know why? You know who else uses a Mac keyboard? Pretty much every freaking writer on planet Earth. You know why? Because they write novels and they have to write fast and they have to write a lot for long hours in the day. All these coders with these really cool mechanical keyboards and stuff, and they put the mic on them and everything. You know what? I think I'm up to like 3 blogs now. There's at least one on Twitch actually even said so, who stopped using mechanical keyboards because it started messing with their hands. All these young people, I know it's a tangent, but it's related to command line interfaces. All these people who have been doing command line interface, all these people have been doing typing stuff with mechanical keyboards. That's fine, and they love their keyboards. And keyboards are a very personal thing. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I do want to revisit this in like 10 years, like after they've been coding with it. I've seen people with carpal tunnel. I worked with a woman at Teleport actually who had pretty bad carpal tunnel, and it was because of moving around anyway. All right, so so let me just say that. Away from my 60% to a full keyboard. Yeah. And everybody, look, keyboard is a very personal thing, but what's not so personal is kind of physics, is that it's actually faster for you to use a keyboard to input stuff, which brings us to the terminal interface. And the terminal interface, we talked about this in another video. You can go watch that video. A terminal UI is different than a command line UI. How? Anybody remember? What's the difference between a terminal UI and a command line UI? A terminal UI is anything that happens on the screen. And that, by the way, can sometimes involve a mouse. You can like tab through everything and all that. A command line UI, I don't want to have keyboard fight. I know I started. That's my own problem, my own fault. So a command line interface is where you type one command and you enter. You type one command, hit enter. So there's another word associated with this idea of typing something in and hitting enter, typing something in, hitting enter. Anybody know what it is? It's called a read, evaluate, print loop. And it's the design underneath a command line interface that's happening. It means read the input, evaluate it, and then produce some output, print it, and then loop back. Okay, so here's one. So let's do, this is BC, right? So 1 plus 6. Okay, so read in the input, process it, give me a number, and then prompt again. You know what I'm saying? And you can just keep going on. So that's a calculator. We're going to get to that in a bit. So what I just wanted to say here more than anything, is, all right. So what I mostly wanted to say here is that the command line interface is the fastest interface possible for humans to use, and that's why it's super important. There is a company that made its name after REPL at REPL.it. Or REPL.com. You can go there, and they made a whole business model after using a REPL if you want to use a command line interface, or if you're doing any development. So I'll just give them a plug. I don't have a specific video on this, but if you actually want to go do that, open REPL.com. So this is REPL.com. Amjad and the gang over there, they've done a lot of great things. If you want to just get started coding, you can go over here and play around with it and do all of your coding right from the get-go. It's all web driven, but it does have, terminal in it built in. So if you're on an iPad or you're stuck and you don't have that, that's fine. We don't have that though, because we have containers. All right. So that wasn't too much time. I feel like that was enough to cover that history of interfaces, command line interfaces. And I'm going to end that video now. All right, let's go faster with the next one. Let's get to some of the stuff on the interface, shall we? Every command line is a line of shellcode. So I talked about that already, right? Every single thing you type is a program. I'm going to show you this really quick. I'm going to do this really. This video is going to be like 5 minutes. This is going to be like 5 minutes, I swear. Time me on this one. See if it's only. I don't want to go over 5 minutes on this. Okay, ready to go. So, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Every command line that you enter is a line of shellcode. So you are already programming if you're using a command line interface. You didn't know it, right? You thought you had to learn some fancy thing to code. No, you're coding from the first day. From the first day you get on any command line. If you're on a Windows command line and it's the CMD prompt, you're coding in batch or whatever they call it. If it's a PowerShell prompt, you're coding in PowerShell. Every line is a line of an ongoing interactive program that's running. Take those exact same lines and put them in a file. You have a script. You're a coder. I'm going to prove it to you. So you go over here and you say, okay, so I want to say ls. Okay. Well, let's see here. I just want the first one though. So ls-1, that puts them all in order. Let's take the last one. So ls-h, pipe that, we haven't learned this, we're going to, into a program called tail. And I just want the last one of those. So there we go. Oops, that gave me the readme. How about we get the first one? So let's do head-1. That gives me the first one. Okay, well, then what? Now let's, I don't know, let's add on something to that. You know, let's see if we can pipe that into xargs. I know this is like, I'm just totally contriving this, but the point is that you're writing code. Okay, so if I want to put those things, and that particular chain is not. Let's do an easier one. So let's say I want to look at the calendar, but I would like to have a fuller version of the whole date. So I want to do date, but I want those two things to be at the same time every time. I won't have to like do them separately. All right, so let's put them in a file. So we'll go into tempfoo, which is a common name for stuff. That's my public key. Don't anybody worry. And so we put it into a shell script. Doesn't even have to have that on there. And we just do this cal and date. Okay, so that's a 2-line shell script, right? And then I'm going to run it. I'm going to say I want to run this with shell, and I get it. And now it happens just the one time. If I want to make it so that I can just run it without having to type the interpreter, is what it's called. We'll get to that. I can just type nsh, and now it's a full-blown program. Another command here that you don't need to learn right now. And now I'm already being used. Foo equals public key. Yeah. So it's a public key, dude. They can't use it. There's no way they could use it anywhere. Anyway, so now when I type tempfoo, and if I put that in my bin directory, I could just type foo, and it would give me the calendar and the date together. So the point is that scripting is really just combining all the commands into a single thing and using them that way, and maybe looping or something. So what if we wanted to, I don't know. So, and once you have a program, let's say, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if that screen were a little bit clearer? All right, well, let's add a clear in the front. So now when I run it, it clears the screen and puts that out. All right, but I want it to, like, I don't know, put it into fancy colors. Should we put it into fancy colors? Well, let's see. Do we have lolcat on here? Yeah, we do. Okay. So let's take all of those commands and we'll combine them all together and send all of those commands to a program called lolcat. And that should make them fancy colors. I don't know. We're going to see. Ooh, fancy colors. Okay, it's got a problem, right? So let's put clear outside of this. But you can see a script is just kind of giving a structure to the stuff that we're writing. And so it's, it's nothing fancy. There we go. Now what do we want to make it so that it just like centers the whole thing? Well, we could do, is it -C? Does that work? I don't know. It does, apparently not. My point is you can just tweak it as you go and you can make it into something fun. If you want to repeat it over and over again, you could just do watch tempfoo, and now oh boy, that doesn't have colors, so we can't do that. Well, one last thing. I mean, I'm not, see, this is the problem. I have way too much fun with this stuff. So let's do this. So while true, here comes your loop. We're going to do all this. We're going to go through all this. While true, do all of that stuff. Done. I'm going to save it in my editor. It does a nice fancy thing. So this says repeat this forever, and let's pause it. We don't want it to run like too fast. So let's pause it for half a second. And now we can run it. Now we're not getting anything. Why are we not getting anything? While true, do sleep 0.05. Why didn't it work? Well, now this is full-blown debugging, is it not? There we go. So now it's like changing the colors and it's giving us different colors. How long did it take? How long did it take? And then Control C to get out of it. Which reminds me, we need to put Control C on there. We're gonna put CTRL Control C to interrupt stuff. I don't want to forget that. So as you can see, it's not too hard to code. So coding again, these are all commands that started out one at a time on a command line, combine them into a script, put a little loop around them, you know, maybe put them into a function even. I could even do that. Let's do the function. Let's do this. Make a function. Let's call display. I don't know, some sort of function name, right? So while true, do display. Now it's going to loop infinitely, but it's going to run up here and run this little bit of code right here. Yeah, Control C is like super important. That's why I immediately put it in there. Yeah, you saw that, right? Okay. So there. See what I'm saying? So now what? And crash. So I did this. I did an infinite loop, and you don't want to do infinite loops unless you put sleeps in there, by the way. But they are really fun when you're first starting out. You can do all kinds of fun things with it. That's a relatively simple program, just to show that the commands that you use every day on the command line are already coding. You just have to put them into a file, and now you're writing scripts. All right. Yeah. And it's very addicting. As soon as you start tweaking it, then you want to tweak it some more. Pretty soon, you miss dinner. So go try it. All right, we're going to take 5 on this. So you guys have anything to bring up? We only have 1 hour left. We're going to cover a lot of commands. If I have to push it out for another day, I just will. I'm not gonna overly stress. Is anybody? That's like 8 minutes. That wasn't too bad, right? I mean, I'm trying to make a point here, though, you know, so we are going to get to it. And I do like to give people insights into what's coming so they don't just feel like they're bored, you know, doing stuff. You're not sure about the difference between Bash and POSIX. All right, let's talk about that. But I think that's on the calendar. 7:55 is when I have to start. So let's. Yeah, now's the time to ask questions. If you guys have questions, now's the time. So you can ask them during the videos as well if they're relevant to the video. But if it's not, then POSIX, yes, POSIX, into 20, say 5 minutes. I know it's like the reverse, right? I know that one didn't. That one only turned into 8 minutes. Jalopy. All right, so start with the safe and visit Vim. No, that's not it. I thought I had that in here. Okay, so oh, here we go. We're gonna do that. Actually, I'm glad you asked that question because I have a video coming up for that very thing. All right, let's do a video on all of this all together. Okay. We're gonna do interactive shell. It's not the same as shell scripting. We're gonna do ybash and not zshellfish or whatever, and we're gonna do use consistent supported bash time completion. It recommends starting POSIX scripting here. Honestly, it's just you just have to start scripting. There's no good shell stuff out there at all. The best I know of is there's something called a POSIX. We're going to get to this later, but the POSIX shell tutorial, and that's my learning POSIX shell is and we are definitely going to learn POSIX shell here step by step as we go. All right, so I'm gonna jump ahead and jump right into it. All right, so let me do this one. Okay. I know this is a little bit annoying, but well, we covered that. We actually covered a video about how to take notes. Swap files are good. Let them deal with a very large file. Active backup your computer expected. Yes. That's why I still put swap on stuff, Taniwa, actually. Yep, I do. All right, you guys ready for another video? Can we do this video now? Is everybody ready? Got other questions? Let's see. So Bash script could be used to integrate with other language scripts like Python, JavaScript, I guess. Yes. All the scripts can interact with each other. That's actually a really good question. We're going to cover all of that in this video. Also check out the VODs from previous day. Thanks, Brillin. It's been very helpful. All right. So let's put a marker in this one. All right. So here we go. So this video, I've done this video like 10 times. I'm going to do it again. Use Bash. That's it. If you don't take anything away from this, if you're just starting out, use Bash for your interactive shell. And you're like, what? Because if you're just brand new, okay, so let me tell you how this goes. I'm going to tell you a story. Beginners get into Unix or Linux and they go out to the YouTube and they search around for all these different people. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but they ask everybody, what should they do? And they all tell them, oh, you want to do Arch Linux and this and Z shell this and Rust that. And they tell them all this stuff that doesn't help them as a beginner. And it annoys me. It doesn't annoy me that they're telling them those things at all. It annoys me that they're telling them as a beginner and they're not helping him through learning the defaults first. And this is a regular pet peeve of mine. And the reason that you should use Bash as your interactive shell, and we're going to talk about what that means, is because that is what comes on Linux by default. Mac comes with Z shell. This is true. But for the beginner boost, we are using containers, all of which use Bash as a default. You want Arch Linux, you want any of those, but we're going to use the Ubuntu container, and we're going to use Bash as the default. Bash has been the default Linux shell, interactive shell. I'm going to come back to that. For what? Since the 86, 87? So it is the shell of Linux. In fact, in the learning the Linux command line, it's assumed that you're going to learn Bash to a fault, actually, because you don't learn POSIX shell, which is more important because that applies to all Unix. But that's for shell scripting, not for an interactive shell. You would never use a POSIX shell for an interactive shell. If you did, you'd probably want to just stop using it because it doesn't have things like tab completion and all that. So let's break this down a little bit. That's the gist of it. If you want to hang up the video right now and go someplace else, just know that we're going to be using Bash for the interactive shell. We're going to be using POSIX shell for shell scripting and Bash for interactivity. And the biggest reason for that is because Bash is standard and Bash provides tab completion and all sorts of fun customizations that enable things like, I don't know, let's go bag on Linux again, shall we? So where's the Kali one again? It's got to be in here somewhere. Every time I want to, so this is one reason you might want to use Bash, right? See this fancy kind of stupid Kali Linux like prompt? This prompt is only possible in Bash. I mean, you can do it in Z shell. Z shell makes very beautiful prompts too, but this is a default. In fact, which is this? Echo shell. Watch it be Z shell and it'll have it totally deflate me. Nope, been Bash. All right, so there you go. What is the default shell on? Oh, I don't know. Should we try another one? OpenSUSE. I don't remember the SUSE one. Arch Linux. I think Arch Linux is actually Z shell if I remember right. Vin Bash. There you go. Yeah. Why not shell script in Bash? Because it doesn't go everywhere, and Bash is bloated and unnecessary for most shell scripting. And that's coming from a guy who used Bash for a full year and promoted it heavily, you probably remember, and then decided against it, particularly as soon as I got into Cloud Native and noticed Bash isn't on everything. So let me give you an example of that. If I am going to write a container, so the containers are, the low-level containers are almost all written in BusyBox, and there is no shell, right? There is a shell, but it's not what you think. This is actually using Ash. I don't even think it has a version. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't want to get into it, but it doesn't have it. Alpine. Let's try Alpine. Whoops. Let's try, it actually ran it instead of giving me the version. That was weird. So Alpine is actually bigger, but not much. This actually, I think, does have a shell. No, it doesn't. Holy cow. Ben, what do we have here? I don't even, it is BusyBox. It's also BusyBox. So Alpine and they're both using BusyBox when BusyBox is not Bash. So when you write a Docker file, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but when you write a Docker file, which you have to write shell scripting in it, if you're writing a Docker files that you want to be universal, unless you're sure that the Docker file is going to be running on an Ubuntu system or something that has Bash, then, which it probably isn't. If you're doing like really optimized containers, you're using BusyBox or Alpine as your base image, and your entire Docker file is written in POSIX shell only because you can't do anything else. You don't have it. It's not there. So there are a number of reasons to use POSIX besides the regular old time reasons, which is it works with Solaris, it works with AIX, et cetera, et cetera. So, we are talking about using Bash here, and so I just made a case about not using Bash for shell scripting by default. But this video right now is about using Bash as your interactive shell. So let me give you some more advice about why you want Bash. Okay, so the first thing about Bash that's nice is that you can complete things. So you type date and you hit tab, and it gets you all the stuff you can do. I can do dash, danger. Ooh, what's danger? What's that about? Ooh, what's date path? What is that about? What's a date path about? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you can use tab for lots of things to help you figure stuff out. If you're in a Git repo, you can type git tab, and it'll give you all the different commands that are there. And by the way, using tab completion like this is a super important thing in the Kubernetes world. In fact, when kubectl, which runs Kubernetes and Cloud Native, look at all those commands. When you look at it, this subcommand design is fundamental to everything that's being generated today. Git, kubectl for running that, Docker itself, tab, kind, tab. There's all the commands you can use with tab. All of this tab completion stuff that I'm doing right now works in Bash. It wouldn't work if POSIX shell was your shell. It works in Z shell, and people would argue that Z shell is better completion. I would disagree. Usually when they use that to tell me that, they usually say that I can't CD into something, and I'm going to show you right now. So I'm right here, right? There's no RWX, but I'm going to RWX Rob, and I'm going to CD right into it, and it knows right where to go because I set my CD path. Most people that bag on me for not using Z shell for CD completion don't know about CD path. And if you're using an interactive shell, this is not a beginner topic, but I'm just justifying it. If you're using it, go to man bash and read about CD path, and you can go read all about it. It will be search. Make sure you have / in your CD path. But every single thing you can do in Z shell can also be done in Bash. Every single thing, and you can customize the prompt in a way that will be consistent and will be usable by other Bash shells. So let me just recap this video and close it out. Use Bash for the boost, if for no other reason. If you want to use another shell, if you like Z shell or Fish is, I actually took over Fish kind of on purpose. It's kind of a joke. With this, Fish is another very interactive, very user-friendly interactive shell. And by the way, in the container world, the nature of your interactive shell matters much, much less than it used to, because you can pick your own interactive shell in your own workspace anytime you want to. Same with your operating system, right? If you want to use Arch Linux, fine, put it in a container. Then your host, you can change over whenever you need to. So I'm not telling you never to use it. What I'm saying is that it's already there. It's the default, and just use it for the cases of this boost. And then those are some of the advantages that it brought to the table. There's a lot of other things in Bash that are just completely unnecessary and are over the top. I mean, you can do all kinds of things. I mean, 10 things came to mind. Like you can do lowercase. I mean, you can do all kinds of like silly things. So you can like, check this out. You can say like fish. Let's see, var. I mean, there's just so many things in Bash that you can do that are Bash-isms that you can't do that in other stuff. So you can do echo. If you wanna make this variable all uppercase, yeah, let me see here. There you go. You can make it all uppercase. You can make it initial cap. You can make it lowercase. You can make it lower cap. None of that is supported in anything else. So that's like reasons to use Bash. Bash is also Bash is very powerful. In fact, the reason that I used Bash as a scripting language in 2000 for the entire year of 2000, after having been forced to use POSIX my whole life at IBM, allowed myself to use Bash for a full year, and I learned all the Bash stuff. I read the Bash man page. I read about the Bash style guideline from Google, which I strongly recommend you go read. It has a lot of good points in it that are good for shell in general. And after a full year of that, it came down to, do I really need it? And I hit some bugs in Bash that Bash couldn't do, and I had to reach for something more. Z Shell couldn't do it. None of the other shells could do it. The only thing that could do it was Perl, and I made a video about that. And so if I needed that kind of thing, now I'm actually grabbing for a real programming language at that point. And that would begin with Perl or Python. Perl is right in between Python and Bash in terms of usefulness, because it's not quite it was actually originally a shell scripting language, and then it kind of moved on. So I'm just talking about those things because I want you to see where Bash fits in the ecosystem, right? So you have POSIX shell, which works everywhere. You have Bash, which is the default on everything, and also the best interactive default shell, right? But can also be scripted. Bash was dropped from Debian because it slowed down the startup times. That's a true story. You can go read about it. And they replaced it with POSIX shell instead. That's the reason they did it, because it got really bloated. It has a full-blown TCP/IP stack in it, so it can talk to the network and handle web requests and stuff. It's crazy. It's got stuff that should never be in a shell. Not to mention it was responsible for one of the biggest shell hacks in history, Shell Shock or Bashdor. But those are all the reasons you don't want Bash as a scripting language. And usually you probably want to reach up a little bit higher and grab onto either Perl or Python rather than writing it in Bash, or you want to go all the way down to POSIX, in my experience. All right, so that's a pretty it's good to script in POSIX because it's more portable, yeah. And a lot of people agree with that. So that's kind of a long-winded way to say it. Hopefully that gives you sort of a sense of where you are. But if you're, why are we having this whole video on this when it's just a default? You know, that's why. There might be somebody else coming to it who wants to understand, so you can justify why you're using Bash. When someone comes at you and says, "Why aren't you using Z Shell?" You can say, "I don't know. Why are you using Z Shell? You tell me why you're." The burden of proof is on the person trying to get you to do the thing that's not the default. So I don't want anybody to ever feel guilty using the default on the system. Because people come at you from the sides and from the angle, all these cool people and stuff, and they start to attack you and say, "Oh, you're not cool. You're not using this, or you're not doing that. Oh, that. Why are you using that? Oh, why not? Oh, Z Shell." You know, all of this stuff. And the fact of the matter is, every one of those people who's trying to force you to justify your existence and why you're doing it, the burden is on them, because you have to install Z Shell. Unless you're using a Mac, you have to install Z Shell. But because we're on Ubuntu, the default is Bash, and that's why. All right, enough for that video. All right, we got 806. Man, we're doing pretty good. No, that's not what I wanted. All right, another 5-minute break. I need this one though. I gotta walk around a little bit. I'll be right back though. I'm using a Ubuntu container and it doesn't take sudo. No, you have to add it. You have to add sudo. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that tomorrow. Actually, we're gonna do system administration stuff tomorrow. Yeah, today we're just gonna learn the basic commands. Unless you want to do it today, we can maybe jump ahead. I've been wondering about that order. I'm on 69 viewers again. I went up and down and up and down and up and down. Anyway, I just noticing it better. 8:11. So I have a little bit of time for a break. I probably don't need that full amount of time. So consistent support tab completion. Okay, so we talked about that. Get your bearings and recognize value of CI. We did that already. And we did that already. Get your bearings. All right. All right. So I think we should do Control C first, actually. Yeah. We did that a couple days back. Yeah. You know what you can't do with virtual machine? All right, unless you're doing command line virtual machine. Yeah. Docker is like a two-step install. It's pretty much done. It's the fastest way to install. It takes far fewer resources. And usually you just want to use this. I don't know about that. I don't know if I would use that. No. I mean, I just a container's fine. I have a full blown container. Actually, we did that yesterday. We did. So anybody who wasn't here yesterday, if you want to go try my workspace, you can do this. You can do docker run dash it dash dash rm rwx rob slash workspace, and this is my exact workspace that I'm using right now as a container. It's 3 GB container, which is monstrously huge for a container, but it's a workspace and it has lots of run lines in it that I didn't compact on purpose because I'm developing it. But this will give you a full shell. It has fish on it. It has my links searching on it. It's all built into it. So if you want to try my environment exactly as I use this at work, you can go try that if you want. So, and that would give you, it's fun. People are like, where's Control L? Oh no. Because they set that show behind a bunch of other things. So, and they're like, LL's list. Somebody yesterday said LS is broken. So this is just some fun banter between meetings. So yeah, go give it a shot. If you find a bug with it at all, other than the 3 GB download, I mean, that's not much considering how big a full distro is to download it. I'm actually working on a workspace manager right now that if you use that instead, it will actually auto mount a directory from your workspace's subdirectory in your home directory. So you can have multiple workspaces with different home directories and you can manage them differently. It's as if you were logging into multiple machines on your same computer from one command line. And I should have that done by tomorrow. Actually, I've been working on that script today. So yeah, that's what's up. And we should probably do our next thing now. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of there. We covered a lot of that yesterday. Okay, so all right, we're gonna have to cover a lot of command stuff here. For this stuff, I might be able to pull off a different pane, so we can try that. All right, so what is the name of this one? Get your bearings on the command line. Okay, so I'm gonna start using double quotes. All right, so here's another video. I got a lot to cover today, so I'm going kind of fast. Get your bearings on the command line. What does that mean? So if you just came to the command line, it can be really terrifying. You're like, I have this command line. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to mention. No, I tell you. So let's go on with that. How do you even start on the command line? What is the first thing you need to learn here? And I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry. All right. So, here we go. So over here, on this side over here is just some of the commands that I put into the Boost document. You can go look them up. I've added a few things since then. Haven't saved it yet. It'll be all there, of course, within a few minutes or so. And over here is just a tiny little command line that we are going to start using. By the way, let's introduce you to the prompt. Understand the prompt. So let's talk about the prompt for a bit. A prompt is this thing that ends with $. Sometimes it ends with a hashtag, which usually means your root. And people love their prompts. I mean, I already showed you guys the Kali Linux prompt, right? I'm gonna do it again though because it's so much fun. So here's the Kali Linux prompt. So now you're a hacker, right? It's like, you know, I'm gonna hack, and you know, and another application might have a much more boring prompt. So let's try this. So here's Ubuntu. This is the one you're probably going to see. And that's just a plain old prompt. This is an Ubuntu prompt over here. So that over here we have Kali Linux running, and over here we have Ubuntu running, both in different tmux panes. That's why we're using containers and not virtual machines, for example, because we can look at any kind of operating system and just see how it works, at least in the Linux front. So here we go. We have run Ubuntu over here, and then we have Kali over here. So this is a root prompt, and they're telling you you're going to die because you're a root user, which is interesting because you didn't used to be a root user. You know, it's funny because they changed it. They changed it so you weren't root for a while. I wonder if they have any other accounts over here. We're going to see. No, man, they don't have any. That's interesting. Add user you. Just make a no password. So all right, so let's see what you is over here. So there's you. Okay, there you go. So oh wow, what is that? That's fancy. That's a fancy thing there, whatever that is. So as you can see, that is the prompt, the Kali Linux mega prompt. And there's a lot of talk about whether a big prompt or a small prompt is valuable. It just really depends on you, but the general science is that the prompt should fade in the background and put the focus on what you're doing. But there's so much stuff you need to see in your prompt these days that it's kind of valuable to have. You know, at least my prompt gets big. I've never seen anybody else do this, but my prompt will get large and go to 2 lines if it doesn't have enough space. If it has enough space, it stays nice and compact like this. So let's talk about what's in the prompt. So here's the username. This here is the host name. That's the name of your computer. And since these are containers, these are sort of different. If you actually want to change that, by the way, if you just push -H space Kali or whatever name you want, and that will change the host name when it starts up. Okay. So if you want to change your name, again, I'm throwing these away each time, but it's like some other name, and then it will actually make the host name when it starts up. That's the only way to easily change the host name. It's really complicated to do it without that after you've created it. So there's the prompt. And then over here you have the host, right? The host name, and this is usually the directory you're in. So if you're on Ubuntu, which you should be, that's the base image we're going to use. This gives you your username. So we're root. Containers are root by default, and we're going to fix that tomorrow. We're going to set up accounts and everything tomorrow. And then you have an @ sign just to separate the distinction. And then you have over here you have the host name. And in this case, the host name is Ubuntu because I ran it using my fun little tool that actually does the sets the host name for you. And then you have a slash, right? So let's add a user over here really quick, and we'll do that. Yes, and then we'll change over to the U account. And so as you can see, it changes the user as you. Here's some other things here. Container for the purposes of Docker. Yes, it does. The container name is actually, you can refer to it instead of using like the random name. You can use that name, that unique identifier name, to do all your Docker run and stop and start and stuff. But right now we're just doing runs. Okay, so this here that little tilde means home. That means you're in your home directory, and we're going to learn this command next, but pwd tells you where the home is. So I am in home U, and if you really want to know, you can grep etc password you can grep your name from etc password. That looks for the line that has that word that matches in it, and it'll show you that in that file it'll tell you what your user ID is, and we're talking about this tomorrow. But and this is the shell you're using, and this is your home directory. You can change that when you log in to my workspace. It actually asks you if you want to rechange any of this stuff to make it consistent with what you might be doing at work or something. And then you have a $. Now, traditionally, the $, means everything's A-OK, and that means danger, Will Robinson. I'm gonna hurt something because I'm root. Don't worry about being root right now. One of the great things about containers is you get root by default. It's also one of the worst things, right? Because it does mean that anything that runs as that container runs as root on your system, not just in the container. And we won't go down that path, that rabbit hole right now. It's one of the main reasons Podman is becoming popular, because even though Docker's caught up, so it's right now it's Docker versus Podman, but don't worry, you're right where you need to be. And so we're going to escape this. And you'll notice if you change to some other directory, that it puts the name here, and you can manage and adjust that prompt, and we'll go through how to do that. Managing and making a cool prompt is one of the sort of sugar-coated attractions to Linux. You'll see other streamers and YouTubers, and they'll spend like all day, creating really amazing interactive prompts. And one of the first reasons people will cite to use Z Shell is to use Oh My Z Shell, even though the Z Shell team strongly recommends against it. So, but people don't care because it's really pretty and everything. And I actually tweeted about a guy, I think he was just trolling me, but he claims that his senior told him, gave him a hard time because he had put it on his system at home. So what else can you put in your prompt? So as you can see, I have customized my prompt from the base Ubuntu prompt, and I have my username here. I have the host name, and then I have here, this is the directory name, just the current directory name. And this here is what's called the Git repository branch. And we're not going to cover Git for about 2 or 3 days, but eventually we will have to cover it. Git is a source management place. It's a way to store all your stuff. So as you can see, all my stuff here is stored in Git in a main GitHub repo, just so you understand what I'm doing here. And come on, GitHub. So this is where this is stored on GitHub, and we're going to go through how to get that set up and everything. But this shows you that it's on branch main. If I had more than one branch, which I don't, it would be here, and this shows you. Now, when you're doing development, you may want to have a different branch. So, make a dev branch. And now you see on all my branches, I have a dev branch and a main branch, and I can switch back and forth between them if I want to. So now branches is there. And the idea is that you can do development on multiple branches at the same time without impacting other development. But I had to show you all that in order for you to understand why this is changing. I have a little bit of code in there that changes it from red to green, because you shouldn't be ever committing to main unless it's a really like low priority repo. If you're doing anything serious, you should never commit to main. So that's what that part of the prompt is for. It's very common for you to see that in prompts these days, because it's so important. Because if you're accidentally on the main branch and you're making changes to code, you might have to go through a lot of extra work to move that off into a branch later. So you want to see that up front. In short, the stuff that's in your branch should be stuff that's critical. I strongly advise against putting things like the time and stuff like that. You don't need to look at that. You put your time down here. Put your POMO session down here. You don't put that in don't busy up your screen. You're already crowded for screen real estate as it is, and you're not gonna want to do that. So that is that. I think that covers, the beginnings of what is in the prompt. Now, the next thing is some of the other stuff. And I only have 14 minutes to go through all these commands. But the commands, we're going to be able to scream through them really fast. We're not going to make it through, let's see, get your bearings on the command line. So we did that. We did the prompt stuff. Let's see if we can do these other one here. All right, so let's do all of these. Okay, Control-C cancels things. It's designed to cancel things. If anybody tells you to Control-C for any other purpose, don't listen. There's actually one Twitch streamer right now who recommends using Control-C instead of Escape and VI, which is a disastrously bad idea. Do not do that. Great streamer, really nice guy, horrible idea. Do not use Control-C for anything but interrupt. That means when you're like running your fish, and you guys can do this if you have my workspace container. If you're running your fish, how do you stop the fish? Well, you do Control-C. All right. If you want to try this on your command line right now without killing yourself, try this. This is scary, but you're in a container, right? So let's get a container going. I'm going to do it just like you. So Docker run -it -rm Ubuntu. Okay, so that's what you could do. Now let's try it. Let's try to break it. So while true, do echo blah sleep for 2 seconds. Done. All right, you see that? So while true, this is an infinite loop. You know, you don't want to do infinite loops, but it's sometimes fun when you're doing games and stuff. Now I'm showing this because with an infinite loop, this is how you get out of it. So you're doing an infinite loop, and it could be this, it could be any program whatsoever. How do you get out? Control C, and that stops the loop. Okay. Now that's obviously not a very fun one. We're gonna do all kinds of fun things with infinite loops, like animations, and we had one guy do a full 9-cat animation with just this, just looping like this. So that's how you do that. Another command would be like watch. So let's say you want to watch the date. I don't know if watch is even on here. It is. Okay. So watch is just an infinite loop. All right. Yeah. The infinite loop Star Wars movie. There's another one. That's a great one. So watch the date. So what watch does is every 2 seconds, it runs the command. It gives you the date over here, and it gives you the output right here. You can see the time changing. Really boring, right? Oh no, how do we get out of it? Control C. Okay. So there you go. That's it for that command. I'm going to move on to something else now. So we got that. I want to do, I don't know where watch would even go. Where would we put watch, guys? So we put watch under here. Yeah, let's do watch. Let's do the watch command. Use watch to repeat things. Use watch to repeat things to see the output. Control V and Control D. Yeah, we're not going to talk about Control D. There, you usually won't need Control D. All right, so fine, we'll put D in there. Fine, Dapper King. All right, so this is. I really don't want to cover this, but I'm going to anyway, since you guys said so. So Control D, we only have 10 minutes left. So Control D, if Control C doesn't work, try Control D, but do not spam lots of different control things trying to figure it out, or you will suspend your terminal. Okay. In fact, let's do that. Control Q S to suspend. You know what? I normally don't cover these, but I'm going to cover them. To unsuspend and people do this all the time. Use reset to fix a terminal. If you ever get broken, I should probably put these in here. No, so watch. All right, so okay, we're gonna do Control D to send in a file. So a lot of times you don't need Control D. I'm trying to think of one that uses it. So Python. Oh boy. Let's do my Docker. Where's my Docker? I only got 9 minutes. Can I do this? Can we do it in 9 minutes? Can we do it? Where's my Docker command? Nope. Okay, fine. So Callie, because it looks cool. So let's do this. Let's do Python. No Python, really? You suck. I'm sorry. ffd-y. I'm trying to get Python on here. I'll do something else while this is installing. Don't worry. Apt install Python. These are all things we're going to go over tomorrow, so please don't stress if you don't know what I'm doing. We're installing software. These some ships. This is not my doing. This is their doing. All right. So a Control D sends an end of file, and that in every way. So it's as if, remember we talked about teletype the other day. So the Control D says, "Hey, this file's done now. You know, I can move on." And oftentimes that's required if you're like sending input to a thing. You need the Control D to stop it. We're We're going to do Control D a lot more later when we do standard input and output, which I am going to put down here. Yeah, I'm going to put that on that day. And that's all we're going to say about that. So we'll come back to that. All of these commands that we're sending, by the way, are related to the teletype. So the suspend and the queue, we have to cover this because to suspend slash unsuspend, is that a word? I'm going to make it a word. So there. Control S slash control CTRL Q. It's actually lowercase q. So, and it's lowercase c. All right. So I need to show you about this one. No, don't do kill F9. Jalopy. So here we have Python, right? So here's an example of the Control D. So ls, like print hello. It's like 2.7 Python. So how can you get out of here? Control D. See that? It says end of file. I don't have any more input. In that particular case, Control C would not work. It says, oh, I got an interrupt. It's not, I'm done. Control D means I'm done giving you input. Okay. So good. We covered that. That's well covered. All right, let's go next. Reset to fix your terminal. If for any reason at all, your terminal gets bork, usually because I don't know, let's see if I can bork my file, my terminal. It's going to be hard. FinLS, how about that? Nope, not. A lot of times, like if you accidentally open a file that's a binary or something, and you just need to reset it, just type reset, and that will reset the terminal and clean it up and fix all the stuff that's gone wrong. Okay, it's different than clearing your terminal, which is clear, right? If you're on a system that by default Control L will clear your screen, but don't learn to do it that way. Mark my words. Type clear for now, and then later on you can set the alias C equals clear, and then you can just see, and you can just hit C. It's even faster than Control L, and it also allows you to set dash OVI, which all stuff we're going to talk about later. But the bottom line, someone tells you to do Control L, tell them no, because you're going to do set dash OVI eventually. All right. I mean, if you want, that's my suggestion. So reset to fix the terminal, watch to repeat things. We did that. To get help, we got 5 minutes. So if you don't know about a thing, you can do man. So if you want to read about shell, man dash, man sh. Those are your best friends right now. These are very dense scripting stuff. There's a man bash, but do man dash. Okay. Now you might not have the man pages. If you don't have the man pages, tomorrow we're going to install them. So I just want to tell you about that command. We're not going to install them right now. Actually, we have to tell you how to save your things so you don't unminimize it and then have to throw it all away. But if you unminimize your container, there's a command called unminimize. It will actually add back all the man pages and everything. All right. So we're going to get to that. But that's how you get your help. Right. And how do you use man? I'm going to let you play with it and learn it. If you're using a pager, which we need to learn too. Where should we put the pager stuff? I mean, if we're going to use man, we should probably use the pager stuff. I should probably take man out, actually. Let's use man and put it someplace else. We'll put it down here. Let's skip man because it's not installed. And man is just a way to look for stuff. Pagers, lol. Reset, watch. We did ls and cd. Ls lists all the stuff that's in there. There's many different versions of it. So man ls is how you read about that. I don't know. I feel like man should be there, but the problem with man is that you don't know how to use the pager yet. So you guys can figure it out though, right? So this is a pager. See, it says press H for quit. You just push space to go down. I should probably teach you about that now. Man and use, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so when you do man, it's actually using another program called a pager, which sends one page at a time. You push space, it goes down, right? And you push B, it goes back. space goes down, B, it goes back up, and you can look at everything. If you want to search for everything, you push /human, and it'll like read for it. If you want colors in your man page, I have an RC file that'll show you how to do it. You can change it to do that. Man numbers. We can, but I've got to be really quick on this. I only got 2 or 3 minutes left. We're really trying to cram a lot into this one. I might go a little bit over. So these LS numbers right here, these are the section numbers. So originally, I think there were 7 or 8 sections. And so some of the sections are based on C coding. That's actually not. So I think SprintF is one. So there you go. So they're, before these man pages have been around since before the internet. And so section 3 is all the coding stuff. So this is got all your C coding stuff. This is another reason that we're learning C instead of, something else for our first programming language, because all the documentation is built into the system. It's like literally built in. And you can go just look at it on man pages. And this is like the definitive place. RTFM comes from this. Read the fancy manual, read the Linux program. This is where that comes from. You can scroll down with J&K on man. Thank you for that. So you can search, you can scroll down. You can actually print them as well. But for right now, this is just a way to look for things. There's nothing like hot linking in or anything. A lot of man pages at the bottom will have information that's useful for examples and stuff. And so there are other information systems you can read about in Million Shots book. I'm not going to talk about them. I never use them. There's locate, and there's there's info, and I think there's help now. I never use it. I just use man, or I use search the internet. SprintF, and I'm going to show you how to search the internet faster than you could ever find it in man. With a text-based browser, and you'll never open man again for some of that stuff, because you'll be able to get much better answers much more quickly with an internet connection than you could even with man. So man was really popular. In fact, one of the programs that really benefited from man before the internet became a thing was Perl. Perl has its own like library of man pages. That is an entire list of every man page that was there for Perl. You got to remember, Perl was invented right before the dawn of the internet, and so it has really substantial man page documentation because that was the only way to get the docs on it. A couple other programs have really great man page documentation. I am so glad someone recommended that I use man for Git. This is absolutely the best documentation for Git out there, hands down, better than anything else I've ever read. If you do man Git tutorial, which is how I learned, I actually had people who used Git, veterans on there who learned about Switch and some of the other new stuff because it was in the newer man page. So, you can just go read the man page anytime you want, and you got that container there for you. This is another reason to have containers, because you do have access to man page even on Docker if you'd rather not go to the internet. I saw somebody do a whole video on how to search the internet for man pages, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, you just have a container on there. You just get on that container, make sure you have the man pages on there, and search for the man pages without ever having an internet connection. So it's faster, it's easier, it's more robust. However, when you search for the man page for something like Git, you're going to get other stuff, which is useful too. You're going to get stuff that's not in the man pages. So it's kind of good to have both of those things depending on what way you're going to be searching. And so I should probably do a whole thing. Hold on. I told you ls is just a list of files and directories. Do man ls to see more on that. cd is just to change the directory. So everybody's in. pwd tells you the current working directory. And so we have the current working directory, gives you the full path to that. ls shows you what's in the directory. You'll see me pwd and ls constantly. It's like a nervous tick of mine, even though it's in the prompt. So just remember, that's something that will work for you no matter what. All right. That will work for you, even if you've totally, lost your way, with the prompt. The prompt's not working, or you have another prompt. CD. So the one thing about CD I will tell you about, and we're going to talk about this when we talk about file structure. If you want to go up a directory, cd ... takes you up, and then cd into the thing will take you into there. If you have a system that has tab completion, which you will if you're doing Ubuntu, you'll be able to do this, is cd boost, okay, and go enter. If you have cd path set, which we're not going to talk about for a very long time, but you can do cd tab, and you can CD into every possible thing that you could CD into, and just go there automatically. You're going to read a lot of stuff, and you're going to see a lot of videos that say get rid of CD, and all of these other things. Yes, that's important. CD dash is super important. That takes you back. So when you're flipping back and forth, that's really nice. And if you CD without anything, it takes you home, takes you to your home directory, which I really love, because I don't know how many times I broke my pinkies on that command just to get home, and all I had to do was that. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Yeah, they're both home, but why would you do it? I mean, why would you force that kind of, I mean, how many times do we go home? We're going home all the time, right? So why would you do it? Just do CD. It takes you home. Seriously, I did not know about that until 2019. And I've been doing it my whole life. I was like, oh my God. So, yeah, stretching, right? Are both lifesavers? Yes, they are. You can actually add them up, right? And go like that. You can see what's going on. You can CD straight into another thing. You alias H to CD. Oh yeah. Well, now that's just one extra character. You're already typing CD. People who tell you to stop typing CD for some other reason, just because they want to save 2 keystrokes to type. So people who use this all the time, they're like, I can just type the name of a directory and it goes there automatically. I'm like, so? You can type CD into Artifacts RAW. All right, now I'm going to CD into Documents. I know, how about my downloads? CD into Downloads. Now I'm going to CD into the Boost. You see how different they all are? No, that's all standard bash. Everything I just did is standard bash. It's not some extra add-on. Okay, so is home to? Yes, it is. All right, so we have CD clear. I already told you it's clear the screen. If you want, if you really want to add this right now, you can go add your bash RC at the bottom. You can add your first alias. Well, you don't know how to do this, but when you do learn how to do this, C equals clear, and then you just type C and you get clear. All right, and it's faster than anything else, faster than Control H. No, don't Taffetains. Don't pretend you didn't hear anything he just said. Do not do what he just said. That is not VI mode. We are not learning Emacs mode here. Okay. So there's 2 ways to interact with the shell history. So for right now, beginners, use up and down arrows. Okay. Use your up and down arrows, and don't let anybody, it's Emacs mode. Yeah. And you don't need the escape for that. You can just push the slash. So please don't confuse them. Okay. So I know you didn't know, but promise me you're not going to learn that yet. We're going to talk about that tomorrow when we do set-ovi. So, the number of professionals who don't know about that, by the way, it just blows my mind. People who are diehard VI fans did not know about set-ovi. What I'm talking about doing is this. Set-ovi turns your command line into a VI session. And then all your searching and everything is this. It's just your history is just a big VI file. And if you know VI, which you do want to learn, you do that. If you're an Emacs user, then maybe you want to keep Emacs mode, which is the default, which is what Stallman was. And the guys who wrote Bash, people who wrote Bash, they were Emacs fans. So they made the default shell Emacs mode. That's where Control L comes from. That's why it clears the screen. That's why when you set -O VI, if I set -O Emacs, which I freaking hate, Control L will clear my screen, but I would never, ever use that. So set -O VI, and then just, you see, it's faster, it's easier, and you still get VI mode, which you should never, ever throw away. Particularly if you're going to make everything else VI, if you're going to VI all the things. So I didn't want to display that right now, but since somebody mentioned it on the stream, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. So just don't mess with your history. Right now, if you're going up and down in your history, you're just doing the arrows. Up and down arrows. It's annoying, but it works. Okay. And then from there, we're going to go on to the next thing. But when it comes to your history, that's what's next. So, and we probably should put something in here about the history. I don't know if we're going to make it today. Yeah, we're going to have another day. I'm pretty sure, because we're going to have a history. Yeah. All right. So okay. So we're already over by quite a bit. Let's do these last few and then we'll be good to go. So we did clear the screen. So just a bunch of fun commands really quick. So cal You already saw this in other videos. Cal just shows you a calendar. You can read about Cal and see that it has other ways of doing it. You can do it's just lots of different ways. If you put a slash in front of it, by the way, it will use the unaliased version if you want to do that. And so if we use date gives you the current date. You can actually do lots of different ways for that. You can read about that with man date. You're going to get used to reading a lot of man pages because that's the best place to go for the information, and you can get all of that. So I actually have used here's one version of the date command that prints out the unique identifier for my Zettelkasten. So that's the way we use that. I told you BC for math if you want. BC is a calculator. The most important thing to use here, it's nice to have a calculator to use. You can do this in your files if you want. Don't forget to set your scale if you're doing floating point math. If you're doing floating point math, then you can say 1 divided by 2 and you'll get 0.5. If you set scale equals 0 and you do 1 divided by 2, 1 divided by 2, you get a 0 because it truncates it. But I wanted to show you that because right away, as of today, you can use it to help you with your math. You can do very complicated, functions here, and you can actually save the variables and do it kind of the reverse, what are those calculators that have the different order? I had a Hewlett-Packard that had one. A Texas Instruments, one upon a time, I had it. Hewlett-Packard, what am I talking about? Oh, look, see, I'm doing Control-C, it's not working. Why? Yeah, reverse Polish notation. Yes, it does. So BC does reverse Polish notation. It's actually really useful. RPN, thank you very much. And then, so Control D is in this case is going to stop it for me. It's going to let me out. So back to, I just want to show you PS and top. So PS shows you PS-EF. So this it shows you some of the commands. It shows you all the stuff that's running. AEF if you want. And I guess I do have to teach you about man use less / more. They're about the same for paging output. And you guys don't know anything about this yet, so I'm just going to say pipe it to more, and then that'll do this. Now, people these days type less, but more came out first, and so you can just do it that way. I wonder what BusyBox has on it. Let's go see. PS PS-EF pipe to more. Now it has more. Does it have less? Let's see if it has less. It has less too. Less clears the screen. That was weird. So less cleared the screen and more is also there. Interesting. So I guess like they're both there. More and less are both pagers. Those are the things that help you look through a lot of output. You're going to need to use that because you can turn your scroll bars off your terminal. You don't need them. People do use them, but you want to get really, really used to using the pager because you never know when you're going to have a scroll bar or not. Okay. Typing lets you, yeah. I actually use the default. So I'm gonna cheat here. I actually have my more is less-r, and that's because I wanted to have colors and stuff, and it was like getting rid of my colors. So if you want to read about those, you can do man less. And you can look at those colors, by the way, those man page colors. You look at my RC files, I can show you how to get yourself colors in your man pages. That was something I did not know until my upper 40s, and it's always been there. It's kind of crazy that we didn't set it before. So anyway, so less and more for paging output. The reason I have to show you that because we can't show you PS without that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's lots of different PS commands to more or to top or whatever. This really doesn't belong here, but I did want to show you something significant that you would be doing as an admin or a hacker or something. You pipe that to more and then hit page and you can see all your stuff, right? So, but you should also have top. If you don't have top installed, I think you have top by default on Ubuntu. So you do top. Top will show you all. This is htop. Mine is htop. So there's the actual top. By the way, did you see that? I'm going to show you that. So top is an alias for htop. If I want to use the actual top that's not an alias, I type / in front, and that says don't use any aliases or functions. and it will you look for the actual top instead of using the alias. Otherwise, it uses my alias, which is the same as calling htop. Tail, yeah. Tail and head will do it at a different time. They're not, tail and head are more about dealing with, input files and stuff than they are just reading something. So let's skip that for today, if that's okay. And so, yeah, that was a lot to cover for one video. Hopefully that you got your bearings on the command line a little bit. Some of these basic commands, these are the commands that people, generally when they get, these are the commands that help you feel like you can see things. I help beginners a lot. And sometimes the beginners, they feel claustrophobic on the command line. And I feel like this set of commands makes you feel less claustrophobic. It's like, if you look around, you can kind of see things. If you have tree on your system, that's another one. So, I should probably put tree in there. Tree will show you all your files, in sort of an organized way. But I think PWD and LS probably gives me, the non-claustrophobic feel as best as I can think. And so you're going to have to experiment with all of those. And I think that's going to be it for today. We're going to keep the rest of this for day, what is it? Day 8? Day 8. I didn't know how much time it was going to take, so we'll take it one day at a time and just keep going. But this is good because we'll be able to do some really fun stuff with that and get into history. So tomorrow's day 8. Yep. I do feel like this is giving you a lot of things to go read and practice and play around with, and to recreate. So, I'm going to go ahead and close that marker, and I'm still here for another 10 minutes to answer questions. Does anybody have any specific questions? It doesn't have to be related to that last video. That last video just got marked. So, navigating through the terminal, it's time to start reading Shots book to improve. Yeah. The other thing about having the book, again, so the purpose of the boost is, you're enjoying it. Good. I hope you are. So the boost is actually designed to give you a sense of what you need to go look at. I'm not going to try to go through everything. I did on the commands. I'm kind of picking and choosing a few commands to show you. Question: what is DAP? You mentioned it before. DAP is actually just made a thing about this. So I'm getting this ready for you. So this is my Vim cheat command, which I can give you a copy of if you want. There's a few things I'm going to add here. This is just if you use DAP, it deletes it grabs the current stuff. PS-A, what does it all mean? All right, so let's do that. Delete around paragraph, yeah. I around paragraph or all paragraph, but I think around is better. I would use it around. That's one of Prime Agent's very famous favorites. I think he talks about it being his number one favorite. So let's do that. So PS, this is all the current command. There's so many variations of the PS command. I could spend like an hour just talking about the PS command. By the way, every single bit of data that comes from the PS command is being drawn from the proc file system. So if you go, I talked about proc, we're going to talk about it again in file system day. Yeah. And so if you, any command that you do with PS is coming from proc, and it's just giving you all the information about what's currently running. PS-AEF. I don't even know what they mean anymore. I've been doing it for my whole life. In fact, when Solaris, it was PS-AUX, and that was actually one of the substantial differences between the PSs. They've been brought together. Is like in Solaris and SunOS, they changed the PS command. It was like, everybody old enough to remember that? It was a pain in the butt because you had to remember all the different switches for it. Yeah, you shouldn't clear. What was the exact reason for that? No, the reason you shouldn't use Control L is because it forces you to use Emacs mode in your history. And I'm going to make a strong case to set VI mode for your history because that's what you use for everything else. The only reason I would support telling someone to use the Emacs mode for their history We're going to talk about history tomorrow at length, apparently, because I put it on the list. The only time I would ever say that is if you had already learned VI. First of all, I strongly believe that even if you're going to learn Emacs, you should learn VI, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But if I run BusyBox or Alpine, do you see an Emacs over here? Oops. There's no Emacs, but there is a VI, and it ain't Vim. So, and can I set the VI mode? Yes. Oh, God. Oh, I forgot BusyBox doesn't support either of those. BusyBox doesn't support Emacs mode or VI mode. So you just arrow keys for BusyBox. So that's good for the beginners, because if you're learning how to use the arrow keys, that's all you get in your history on BusyBox, because it's really, really tiny, like 1.2 megabytes tiny. That's how big that entire operating system is. It's not even really an operating system. So so you have VI. So the argument goes like this. The argument goes that everybody needs to learn VI, even those who end up using Emacs and VS Code and NeoVim and all that stuff. But they need to learn VI first so that they can be productive on anything, like literally anything. And then you add on top of that your additional skills as you go. And that includes Emacs. Ironically, though, the default shell settings are for Emacs mode. That's where Control L comes from. In the Emacs editor, when you do Control L, it clears your screen, which is cool, right? All those other navigation commands that you gave me in the searches, those are all commands that work in the Emacs editor. So it's just logical to synchronize the way you navigate your history with your favorite way of editing files. And I personally think that it's much more powerful to do that with VI mode. Unfortunately, because the people who made Bash are Emacs users, they made Emacs the default method because it's the one true editor, Stallman says, and so you have to actually set it. And I've had very spirited debates with people who were big VI fans who were also arguing to use the Emacs history mode because it's the default, and anything else was a customization that was unnecessary. The first command I execute on any Unix system that I don't know about is set-show VI. Every single time, because it's so much more powerful. I can do the searching. I can do everything. It's the really great thing about it is I don't have to put two different cognitive storage spaces, one for how I deal with my history and another one with how I edit VI files. You can think of VI the history. We're going to talk about this at length tomorrow, but you can think of the history as being a huge file that you're editing with VI, all the searches and everything. So like if I'm going here and I want to say, I don't know, run, and now I want to jump to the U, so I can do TU and it will jump to the next one. I do it again and it finds the next one, TU, and I push dot and it does the next one. There's no U, that was the only U. Okay, so TU. So I can use all my inline editing. I can jump forward by word. I can go backwards by word. I'm doing all of the same editing commands that I learned for VI in my history. Why on earth would you want to force yourself to learn how to use Emacs to edit your history when you're a VI user for every other moment of the day? Doesn't make any sense to me. And that's where it comes from. So I can, again, just to give you a sense of that, if I would have to use the arrow keys for this. You can always bail to the arrow keys. You can always do that. This is also why I really don't do this. People use that all the time. I don't use it. And then when we use Emacs, we force evil mode. Right. Yeah. And by the way, if you want to, that's fine too. Oh God, no, I don't use, we're going to talk about VI. When we talk about VI, I learned VI and use that first. And then I judiciously layer in Vim isms, and then after that I layer in other things. But I want to make sure that you learn how to do everything with the terminal, because and the shell integration. Nano, you can use Nano, but Nano's not on everything. It's not on BusyBox. Nope. I don't see me a Nano there. If you're working with containers, and you probably are, show me the Nano. Ain't no Nano there because it's too freaking big. And pain in the butt. It has no purpose. In fact, if we're going to talk about VI tomorrow, but if you really want to see why I think Nano, it's actually easier to use VI than it is to use Nano. Nobody wants to admit it. So there you go. There. It is. And that page that I just sent you is proof. It's scientific proof that it is easier to use VI with arrow keys, which some would think is a blasphemy, than it is to use. He only does it in one episode, Kangas. I noticed. Yeah, he only does it in one episode. He has VI in one other episode. He uses Nano in one, and he uses VI and Vim in the other one. It's basically Did you see him using Python? I actually it's on Reddit. It's on the Reddit post. I did a Reddit post. I screenshotted his Python code, and all that stuff is like nods from other techies to us. Yeah, he uses BitChex, which you can't even use anymore. Bit for chatting. He uses BitChex to chat. BitChex is the hackiest, buggiest IRC client on planet Earth, and yet he uses it. It's well known for like being the most exploited IRC client in history, and he uses it to get in to talk to do all his like whatever to practice Bash. I don't know. If you want to, I don't. My opinions about Bash have radically changed in the last 4 months. Yeah, I find no value in Bash anymore at all. I don't need it. I either use POSIX or Perl, and that's the truth. I mean, that's just bottom line truth. They say VI to save an exit VI, use ShiftCZ. That's what I use. Yeah, but we're not doing VI yet today. Yeah, ShiftCZ. That's my favorite. But there's like 5 ways to get out of VI. No kidding. There's like 5. You can do :WQ. You can do :Q exclamation point. ShiftCZ. If you do a lot of work with REPLs. Are we talking about like REPL it or just like regular REPLs? Like people's like. You're talking about people's implementations of a REPL like Python and Perl and stuff? Another reason to do all this because the readline library underneath is the thing supporting all that, by the way. This is a fun fact for the advanced people out there. Did you know that the same thing that gives you your history up and down and your searchability and your Emacs and VI mode, you know where that comes from? That comes from the readline C library. So any tool that uses the readline C library, anything, has the same navigation depending on how the user has set it up. Yeah. Exit insert mode. I don't even want to justify that with an answer. Why would you use an interrupt signal which kills the process in every other instance? You know what else we didn't do? We didn't do suspend. Damn it. We got to put that tomorrow. I got to put that back. I'm going to leave it here, but we're going to have to cover it. Don't let me forget to cover that. I'm putting a note here for myself. Dude, okay, let me give you the first reason. All right, so let's do it on anything and an actual VI. Right? It's such freaking bad advice. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's downright stupid. Seriously, if a person came for me with an interview or any administrator I have ever met, and you demonstrated that you use Control-C in VI, they would laugh you out of the room, man. They would laugh you out of the room. It's just a proof that you're a TypeScript programmer is what it is. That's it's so laughable. I don't even want to justify it with an answer. It is not the way to do it. Okay, so watch. So I'm in VI. I'm going to edit a file. This is VI. Okay, this is not Vim. This is not NeoVim. This is actual VI, right? See if I can remember how to get out, right? Okay, so I got out. Let's try that same thing. Oh, I don't have my VI mode, damn it. All right, so let's try the same thing with, you can push escape. You can do control left bracket is what I use because, and we're going to talk about remapping escape and all that, right? I use control left bracket because it works on every non-international keyboard. And most of the people that taught me, that's what they use, Control-C. It's much easier than typing escape, or I have escape remapped to caps lock, but I almost never use it because I've learned to use control left bracket. That is the exact same signal as escape. So, and it's just as easy to do as control C. No different. It does work. It works just fine. But here's the thing. If I try to, like space, blah, 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 right? Now I'm going to switch modes. How am I going to switch modes? Control C. That's what Control C does. How stupid do you have to be to use Control C in VI? Seriously, you got to be so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. It just makes me so mad. It's such bad information. Because if you're in VI, which is all you get most of the time, go ask. You know what? Go watch. I don't even know why you would do that. Why not just control left bracket? Control left bracket does the same thing. Control C, watch. Control C. It goes to the top of the screen. And please help me counter this idiocy because it's rampant. People are using it all over the place. I almost want to get on Prime's channel and just yell at him for using it. I love the dude. I totally love the dude, but I'm like, stop telling people to use Control C. It is such bad information. Yeah, you're right. It's ignorance. It's ignorance. It's not stupidity. Obviously, Prime is really smart. I overstated that. I'm sorry. I did, but this just really, really freaking annoys me because everybody's going to go do this and they're going to do it. Wait, where did my Control C go? Oh, Vim and NeoVim do it. But you're in the container world, you're only going to get VI. And if you don't believe me, go on Zorchenheimer's channel, go on Zorchenheimer's Twitch channel and ask him about V. I love Zorchenheimer so much. I watched him. He had been put in charge of, I'm going to tell this story again tomorrow. At least I can get the ranting and yelling out today. So tomorrow I can take it down a notch. Tomorrow. So ask Last Miles. Dennis isn't on anymore, but ask Last Miles what he thinks of Control C. So Zorchenheimer was put in charge of some really, really ancient Unix systems, and he had to learn about this new V thing. Because the only thing he never learned is Vim. He didn't know VI existed. He had no idea where the history was. Brilliant, brilliant dude. I love Zorch. He's like totally brilliant. And yeah, and he was doing what was it? He was learning V, and he's like, yeah, I went to use V the other day, and I went to try to go, to some place like I didn't have my line numbers. Actually, you do have line numbers. Wait, do we not have numbers? I don't even think we have line numbers. No, I don't think we do. Nope. Zorchenheimer. Somebody linked to him. Somebody else out there. Dennis is on YouTube now. Yeah, he's really awesome. He's on YouTube now. If you go to YouTube/Dennett, I haven't been able to catch him live so far. I've been trying hard, but he's on. If you want to go let him know that you support him still. Yeah, it's YouTube/Dennett Last Miles. Is it LN? I can't remember. Yeah. I wonder if this one actually supports XRC, because the original RC file is not even Vim, it's XRC. Yeah. So man, I don't even remember them. I'm gonna have to go look at mine. Actually, in my Vim RC, I specifically broke them out so that I would remember them. Yeah, I think switching caps lock for escape is fair because escape was originally there. The secretaries, this is really interesting history. I tried NU, it didn't work. Let me try again. So don't you love that you have a container? You can go try it out, right? I didn't have to go fire up some BSD system and try it. I could just try it. I didn't have to install some version of VI. I could just fire BusyBox up with an old school VI on it. Containers for the win. So set NU. Yeah, no line numbers, man. You and your stinking line numbers gonna go home. No, I mean, come on, isn't that funny? Control C, go to the top. Yeah. Well, we talk about doing containers, Jalopy. Go back and talk about. There's like 3 different days where we talk about getting a container set up. Okay. Set. Okay, look, that's all I show you. So I went through this before, and I deliberately made a VIA compatible section in my XRC that you can set. It's funny because when I learned, this is how I learned. In fact, I saw XRC like last year, and I totally had a nostalgic wave overwhelm me. Yeah, CAPS it's a long history. It's a really interesting history too, and it includes like secretaries and typewriters and everybody that they originally, yeah, because originally it was Escape. So computers were out and electrical typewriters were out kind of at the same time, and they were fighting for what was going to go on the keyboard. And sort of the secretary people won because they had to caps lock. The secretaries were hating because they were writing checks in all caps and strap. And so they were writing checks in all crap. And so the electrical typewriters won. And then the keyboards all became caps lock in that space, and they booted Escape up into the ether. And then for then on, and then fast forward to 2019, and Apple decides we don't even need the freaking Escape key at all, and they remove it entirely. No, Escape is not Leader. It's a different key. No, it's not. That's a different key. Leader is that's a Vimism, by the way. That's a Vim thing, Vim and NeoVim and all that. So yeah. Yeah, and then Apple. Did you see how Apple had to backpedal on that whole thing? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Apple had to completely backpedal on that whole thing. Like, we're so sorry. We didn't know you needed the Escape key so badly. Frankly, you shouldn't be using Escape key. I've seen absolute noobs like do their pinky up to get to the Escape key like crazy. And when I started learning VI, I said there is no way I am ever hitting the Escape key that far away. I could never do it. My pinkies aren't long enough. There's just no way. I would just die trying to. There's people that are really good going up there to hit that Escape key, but why would you do that? So it's actually not. I was a big anti-remapping fan until this year, and I went ahead and remap caps lock. I still don't use it. The big. I have tried a smaller keyboard. Yeah. Actually my laptop, I'm way better on it. But Control Lift Bracket is just as good. The big justification for me to tell people to at least consider remapping. Do you use this finger? Do you use this finger or do you use this finger? What do you guys hit your Escape with? Because I would never do that. So yeah, remapping Escape, and then you can do that. There's a tool to do that. Yeah, it's really easy to do it. Ring finger, pinky. Yeah, a lot of people do the ring finger. They go clear over there and get it. Here's the thing though: if you're just starting out, hitting Escape is probably the most common thing you're going to do for the rest of your life. So make sure that whatever you program into your muscle memory, you do what you want forever. No, do not do that. Do not do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Watch. It doesn't work in VI. Do not remap. I have remappings, and I use them because I'm on Vim, and I'm going to take them all out now. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Because Vim lets you do core remappings. Yep. I'm getting rid of them right now. I'm never doing them again. Remappings are so bad in a containerized world. They're really bad. You should never remap. If you're going to do anything, map your keyboard hardware. Do you know what I'm saying? And not going to know how to do anything tomorrow. Great. Yeah. So it's really, really, really important you do not remap keys until you learn VI. Please promise me. Because what'll happen is you'll instantly only be able to use those things, and then they'll throw you at a container or something, and they'll say, hey, use this container, do it. You'll be completely useless. You won't be able to do anything. That's exactly what happened to Zorchenheimer. Exactly what happened to him. Dude, ask him. And he was very comical about the whole thing. He's like, man, I couldn't use anything because he learned Vim first. So if you learn VI first, not just because it's an old thing, because it's compatible with everything, and then you can layer that on there. So either use Escape and I'm still kind of partial to this in the middle on this. If you're going to remap something, remap it at the hardware level. Problem with that is, I regularly go on another computer and tmux in. Well, I'd have to remap my caps lock on my laptop too. If you have the power to remap caps lock on every piece of hardware you're ever going to use, then go for it. Otherwise, the hands down easiest solution is Control Left Bracket. Now, there's a lot of international people out there that are going to complain at me because you can't do that, and I feel sorry for you because Control Left Bracket, I've been using Control Left Bracket forever, and that works no matter what everywhere, and it's super easy to hit for me. In fact, the first time I had to use an international keyboard, so I had an MSI computer gaming system, and the gaming systems have the control left bracket sends an escape character. It is exactly the same as typing the escape key. Yeah, control left bracket is exactly the same as typing the escape key. If you have to train up your pinkies. It's 2 pinkies in a row, but you know, it works everywhere. The real hardship that I find, so it wasn't until I started streaming that I realized there is a significant population who cannot do that. No, control left bracket, sorry. Left bracket, pinky power. Yeah, there's a significant group of the population. I should probably end this video. It's going to getting kind of long. Left and F sound the same. Yes, there's a significant group of the population who thinks who can't do that though because they don't have keyboards that support it. And do you map your spinners? So to those people, all I can tell you is if I were you, I would map your operating system keyboard, or I would get a keyboard that supports the mapping of, you know, you can do this, right? There are keyboards now that, my saving, I use both. I'm constantly typing VI. This is another nervous tick I have. I am so afraid of losing my data that if you ever see me just do :W all the time, that's because that saves. That's like me instant saving. All right. You see me doing that all the time. And then escaping is just Shift-Z. That's what I've always done. But wait, I can't do that. I keep it's my force of habit. So and then we're gonna do all this VI stuff tomorrow. Shift-Z, yeah, that's what I do. ZZ Top. I used to play a ZZ Top video. Yeah. :WQ if you want. Yeah. Yeah, that one I have less opinions on. Shift-Z is just fun. And so we're going to do VI Talk tomorrow. I need to close this video out, so I'm going to cancel it so that we can have a reasonably short video for people to watch. Thank you to all those people who visited. Let's quickly go find somebody to raid. Anybody else on? Anybody else have a preference for other raiders? Yeah, the exit. Oh, hey, there's. Oh, Downright's on again. All good people. These are really good people, all of them. I love them a lot. They're helping people a lot, do amazing things. I haven't raided Strager in the last time. I read Sim Griffin and I raided Downright 2 days ago. Who else we got? Anybody new? It might be fun to hit some. Oh, data science. I'm doing Nick Wan. Nick Wan knows this freaking data science, man. I'm gonna raid him. Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I am really, really sorry. I thought the sound was down a lot more than that. I am really, really, really sorry. I could hear that through my headphones and they're on the floor, so I must have blown your ears out. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Everybody immediately dropped. I'm a fail today. That was a fail. So I'm gonna raid him. I'm so sorry for that. I really try hard not to do that. In fact, that's sometimes I should probably just, you know what, from now on I'm just gonna mute. I mean I'm like system mute. There we go. System mute just in case. There you go. Bye. All right, guys, if you're still hanging, thank you so much. Bye.